Final hour overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score. Bryan Hayes, Frankie Corrado, Gord Miller in here. Got Dean Evason coming up soon, right? Ray established yesterday his first roommate in the NHL.
Yes.
And Andrew Brunette, we just spoke with Ryan O'Reilly. Brunette's the head coach down in Nashville. He played with Ray when they were in Atlanta.
And it's amazing how many former Hartford Whalers went on to become great head coaches.
Yeah.
It's astonishing.
And I guess management, you throw Ron Francis in there as well, right?
Great media members.
Shanahan.
Jeff O'Neill.
Jeff O'Neill, that's right. Kelly Chaser, one of the best personalities in the game. Chaser was a Hartford Whaler. Yeah, Joel Quenneville, Dean Evason. Shanahan.
Joel Quenneville.
What was going on those bus rides, those plane rides?
Crazy.
Right? Like, I don't know. Were they all talking
was
hockey
joking.
or what?
You guys never won a damn thing, but
yeah, I know. They love to talk about the game and build teams and coach teams, but yeah, Hartford was never really a competitive team.
It was the strangest place to go to do a game because it was the arena was in a mall.
In a mall, yeah.
Is it the
actual mall?
It's the one that they're still using in the AHL. Like, I think I've played in that thing 25 times.
It's been downsized, but yeah.
Okay. It's a nice arena.
Hartford Civic Center, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it's nice.
The roof collapsed one year at the Hartford Civic Center. I remember that.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a strange. And they had Pucky the Whale, Brass Bonanza.
Great uniforms.
Yeah, I think they had one of the best logos because it had the W, with the whale tail, and their name had WHA in it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the original WHA teams. I love the WHA.
Yeah, I don't really.
I grew up
know
watching
much about it, but
I grew up watching it in Edmonton. Like you'd see Jacques Plante, like 41 years old, playing for the Edmonton Oilers.
Right.
And two of the Carlson brothers who played the Hansons played for Cincinnati in the WHA. So when they'd come to town, everyone put the glasses
on. Were they tough?
One was, yeah. They were good, though. They're actually quite good.
Yeah. That's what made that movie so great. Like, you could tell those guys could skate. Like, some of them could skate. I don't know the other actors if they could skate.
Newman could skate a little bit.
Yeah.
I interviewed him about Slapshot once. He said it was his favorite movie. Like, he loved it.
Yeah.
He loved doing that. He had a great time shooting it. He loved it.
Yeah. It's a great movie. I don't know. Is it one that gets promoted much anymore?
No, you know what?
I don't know if it does anymore.
Because now you watch it and you're like, ooh.
Yeah, there's a lot in there it's pretty wild scene,
you can't say that.
Well, it's not being played on like a bus ride for a Pee-wee tournament anymore.
No.
But like that, I remember that used to be played on the bus. I'm like, yeah, that's
Cam
great,
Moon,
but we're like 15.
Cam
It's a
Moon,
wild movie, man.
The radio voice of the Oilers, Cam Moon, can recite Slapshot from beginning to end.
Yeah.
He played in the minors a long time.
Kept watching it all the time. Great movie. All right, so Dean Evason will join us here in a moment. Confirm it, deny a little bit later in the hour. Jays are back in action tonight, but there is some hockey news. Well, yeah, we'll get into, we've talked about the Jays, but the Hockey Canada has announced that they have made some additions to their front office for the Four Nations face-off and also for the 2026 Olympic Games. And Julien Brisebois will be a part of that front office. That's not a surprise. No. GM down in Tampa. Obviously, he's done a great job down there for a long, long time. And Kyle Dubas has been added to the list. Now, Dubas was a part of the World Championships this year, right? So Dubas has put some time into Hockey Canada. I'm not surprised because Kyle's he's a really smart guy. He's been an executive now for a while. He's been in the fire. He's not the main guy. But when you look at the credentials of Kyle Dubas, and I've talked about this really since he left, he hasn't won anything, and he's the president in Pittsburgh, and now he's on Team Canada's executive team. Does that surprise you at all?
No.
No? Like winning isn't a requisite? We're talking about Canada here. Like think about all of the different possibilities, and winning is not something that has to be in your resume.
Well, I think that he's been part of the Canadian program before, so you bring that in, and I think we obsess too much about who's in the management group. That team picks itself.
Largely, it does.
I mean, the first 17, 18 guys. My mom could pick those players, and she doesn't watch hockey.
Yeah, it's a formality. You know exactly who's going to be on that team.
They'll discuss the goaltending. They'll discuss.
And Doug Armstrong's the GM, and he will have the final say.
Yeah.
And Cooper, the coach, will also, I'm sure, heavily sway things. Ultimately, it's not that Dubas is incapable. That's not what I'm getting to. I'm just pointing out how Kyle continues to kind of move up and up and up without having any success on his resume.
It's a fair.
That's just factual. Like I'm not trying to take a run at Dubas to play to the crowd in Toronto. Fact is, he won one round here, hasn't made the playoffs in Pittsburgh, and he's on Canada's executive team.
It's a fair point. I would make the argument that part of the job title is director of personnel. Like, is that what I read? So, I guess you would be tasked with putting the rest of the team together, not just the players. It's like, who's going to lead your sports science? Who's going to be the trainers? Who's going to be your equipment staff? Like, all that kind of stuff needs to get selected as well. So maybe he would have a hand in that. Like, I don't know. I'm just speculating. When you see personnel, I think of, people that are on the team, but not necessarily on the ice as well. So maybe there's something to do.
And there's a scouting element, I'm sure.
Right.
But Don Sweeney's the GM of the Four Nations team.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't won. As assistant GM, he did with the Bruins.
Yeah, he would have been in that front office. Yeah.
I guess you got to go through the candidates that are Canadian. Think about who the GMs are that are
and who wants to do it, who wants to put their time and effort into it.
Yeah.
And Kyle's willing to do it, which is, good for him. It's a real honor for him to be a part of it.
It also could be like, when Kyle came into Toronto, it was like he was being groomed for the next job, and eventually he got that job.
And the Marlies did win the American League championship.
Yeah.
That is true.
And then
counts. You got me.
It does count. But then you think about Hockey Canada, and Gord, you know this. They grab a coach or a GM and they kind of groom that person to bring them up.
Yeah,
there's a progression there.
There's a progression, and I think
okay.
But there's going to be this massive staff. I mean,
yes, it's like the Leaf staff.
Why do they well,
everyone gets a job.
Everyone gets a job.
Everyone gets a job. All right, the Columbus Blue Jackets, they were looking for a guy, right? They were looking for a head coach, and they decided to make that call this week. Dean Evason got the job. You know him, of course, from his playing days. We mentioned him playing with Ray Ferraro back in the day. Ray mentioned yesterday that he was his first roommate, I guess, on the road, which must have tried. Like, that's a tough get. Ray never shuts up. He never stops talking.
And I'll ask Dean a question about a car in a second.
Okay. But here he is, the new head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Here's Dean Evason. How you doing, Dean?
Gord, I am not telling the car story again.
You are,
but I will tell you guys this. Ray Ferraro and I were roommates in Binghamton, New York, in the American Hockey League. So it wasn't just a road trip. I couldn't just get out of the hotel room. I had to. I had to live. My bad. I had to live with him in a little apartment in downtown Binghamton, New York.
That beep's a little late.
It never ended, did it? So you had to live with him, not just share a room with him on the road. That's what you're telling us?
So Dean and I get along well because we've both had the Ray Ferraro experience.
Okay.
Yeah, you've roomed with him more than I have, Gord.
Wow, he is a beauty, man. Because he hasn't stopped talking, Dean. Like, he comes, we had him on. We used to have him on every single day on this show for like a decade almost. I swear I've done more radio interviews with Ray than maybe anyone in the history of radio in terms of a one-on-one. And he came on at the end of June. He's like, "All right, I'll see you in September." And then yesterday he called in. Because he's like, I got more things to say. I mean, did you just kind of always know he'd get into media and just kind of never shut up about talking about hockey because he's the best at it?
Oh, my gosh. And that's why he is so good. And I love actually listening to him. I didn't like listening to him when I was trying to watch a TV show in the apartment. But I do love listening to him. He's extremely knowledgeable, level-headed, and gets it. But, yeah, no, there's no question that he does not shut up.
And Dean, I got to say, first of all, congratulations on the Columbus job. Well-deserved to get another crack. And your season opener is in Minnesota against the team that just let you go. And
right.
One of the things, everyone said, oh, it's not a big deal, it's just another game, but you didn't say that.
No, because it's bull, that's why.
Yeah. Right? This is not just another game. You want to go in there and stick it up the rear end, right?
Well, yeah, but and I said in the press, and thank you, Gord, by the way. But I'm very excited, obviously, to be here in Columbus. But yeah, I mean, do you want to win any more than game 28? No, but is it a special game? Yes, of course it is. And it's just I just really don't like when people go, no, like you said, it's just another game. It's no big deal. It's not. Well, yeah, it is a big deal. Like, you're excited to go back there. Yeah, they let you go. So, yeah, sure, you want I didn't think I should have got fired, so I want to prove that it's the wrong choice and the wrong decision. But having said that, I'm also very excited that they did let me go, because now I have this wonderful opportunity in Columbus to go back and win.
Well, I'm curious, as a former player yourself, where I'm sure you dealt with coaching turnover throughout your career, how do you look back on that now, like playing for a new coach and going into maybe their former building? Like, did you take that onus on yourself as a player to say, we got to get this one for coach? And if so, would you expect your new players to have the same feeling for you when you take on Minnesota?
Well, I'm not 100% how to answer that, because it's like, if your players are getting motivated, and there's a lot of different motivating factors, but the players should be motivated each and every night to win hockey games. And that's what you try to do. And that's what you try to create as certainly the head coach or the coaches, is create that atmosphere that they're playing hard for each other, most importantly, to go out there and win hockey games as opposed to winning for somebody. But if they got an edge in some regard because they're excited about a player that got traded or a coach that got fired or whatever, then wonderful. It should give them maybe a little extra boost, but hopefully we get to the point quickly here in Columbus where we play hard each and every night, regardless of who we're playing and who, where, and when. And I believe that we can do that once we get after it.
Dean, a lot of exciting young prospects and players in Columbus, and you take a look at that, like there's a lot of skill that can be, with that roster for a long time to come. Now, you'll have an opportunity to coach those guys early in their NHL careers. How important for you is it to kind of hammer home all those details early on in their career, so you can get at them early instead of having these guys kind of go through a few years and have to fix a lot of mistakes that maybe didn't get rectified earlier on?
Yeah, no, there's a lot been talked about our young talent, and I don't want people to forget that we've got some bite on our hockey club too. We've got some veteran leadership, some core guys, obviously, that have played in the game. What I would like to do, and Donnie Waddell and I have talked about this, is have them, teach each other, have those older guys, the core guys, and I'm not going to single guys out because there's a pile of them, and I don't want to miss anybody, but that they teach those guys how to play. That's the best teaching tool or the best coaching tool, is when a veteran guy can take aside a guy and go, hey, listen, don't turn the puck over at the blue line like that, 6 times in a row. Like, we're gonna make mistakes. Sure, we're all gonna make mistakes. That's part of the game. But I want the players to quickly make each other accountable, because I'm going to make them accountable. Coaching staff's going to be accountable to each other, and we are going to create that team first mentality, that we're going out to play hard each and every night together. But we are going to hold each other accountable each and every night as well.
So, Dean, if you look at recent Stanley Cup champions, there's a common thread that most of them have an elite number one defenseman, a guy who is, plays 25 minutes a night, can play against the other team's top players, run the power play, kill penalties. You've got a guy in Zach Werenski who a lot of people think fits into that category. How do you view him and his importance?
Yeah, I exactly that. And it's funny, Gord, because I've already made a couple of phone calls, and 4 or 5, but I just got off the phone with him, and the passion and the excitement and the leadership that he instilled, at least even over the phone, and that I've talked to, is that guy. So I'm excited to get in, to get on the ice and watch these guys and get in the room and watch how they conduct themselves around each other, and how they fit in with each other as far as pairs, as far as line combinations and all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, we have the pieces in place, as you just mentioned, to be an elite team, and I'm looking forward to helping create that and win hockey games.
We're chatting with the new head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets, Dean Evason.
And before we go, Dean, I'm sorry, you have to tell the car story I think it's from Binghamton, isn't it?
Yeah, it's from Binghamton. We bought a car, a Ford Matador. Couple of guys, Mike Hoffman and Dan Bourbonnais had another car that was I don't know, an old Cadillac or something, and we literally used to run into each other when we saw each other. At the end of the season, Ray and I didn't know what to do with the car. Threw all our pots and pans in there, locked it up. I took one set of keys. We put a set of keys under the floor mat. A cop calls me a month later and says, "You got to get this car off the street." I said, "Well, I'm not there, but there's keys under the mat if you want it." He goes, "I got a 16-year-old son. Can I have it?" I said, "Take it. It's yours." And we got rid of the car.
I love it, man. You guys were prepared for that.
We called it the Bull. It was a Ford Matador. We called it the Bull.
I love it. So he was off the trail. You were what, off to Flin Flon? It's like, we're out of here. You guys figure it out?
Yeah, we went to more beautiful places than Binghamton, New York.
Yeah, I don't know if that's difficult to do necessarily. I don't think it is. Congrats on the new gig down there in Columbus. We're looking forward to seeing what you guys have in store this upcoming season. And I'm sure we'll catch up again down the road. Thank you, Dean.
Thanks, Dean.
Thank you, guys. We really appreciate it.
You got it. Dean Evason, the new head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Some of the best stories about minor league hockey are about cars.
Well, that's like we just talked about with Slapshot. I mean, it's basically a minor hockey team trying to survive in a small town.
So, goods in general.
Yeah.
Like stuff that you're using for the year that you're not going to keep with you is always a little bit of a circus. We did the TV thing, the Walmart TV return thing. Have you heard of this?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So me and my roommate, my first year pro, we went to Walmart, bought a TV. We used that TV for 89 days. On the 89th day, we brought that TV back to Walmart. One guy walked to the customer service. The other guy walked to electronics. By the time one guy was done returning it, the other guy had finished with the purchase of the new TV. And on we went for another 89 days, baby.
Yeah, just keep rolling through, huh?
So 1 year in, I think it was Muskegon, the team was going bankrupt. The minor league team was going bankrupt. So the guys, they all lived in the same apartment complex, and they had a demolition derby in the parking lot of the apartment building.
That's outrageous.
I love it.
They put on their gear, their helmets on, everything else. They had a demolition derby in the parking lot.
Oh,
yeah, that Binghamton team was a pretty good team, I think. Larry Plow was their head coach. Yeah. You had Dean on there. You had, obviously, Ray was on there. Kevin Dineen was playing there.
Dino's hilarious.
Marty Howe.
He had his jersey on backwards more than once. He went up for warm-up with his jersey on backwards more than once.
No one told him?
No.
Yeah.
Why would you?
Why would you
tell him?
You cannot tell him that. Kevin Dineen's another one that went on to coach and do great things in the game.
Dean's so intense, and it's really interesting that he doesn't hide it.
I kind of wonder if his jaw hurts after games sometimes.
Some of the times, like when he's looking at refs in particular, he is snapping.
Yeah.
Like it's furnace face.
I think that's when he's actually saying, "Hey, nice to see you."
That very well could be just his natural disposition all the time.
He's always got that look.
He's one of the nicest guys. He's great company, but he's so intense behind the bench.
That's, I guess, the way it should be. Like everyone's got a different way of going about their business. Yeah. Like some guys are uber intense. Other guys, you think, are you asleep? Like, what are you doing?
I'd prefer the guy that's more animated than the guy that just stands there with his arms crossed and looking around.
Let me ask you this: does it wear off? Like if a guy's yelling all the time, and Evason doesn't yell much, but if a guy's like barking all the time, after a while doesn't it become like the adults in Charlie Brown? Like,
I think two ways of it. Like one way, if he's yelling at you all the time, eventually you're just going to be like, I can't do this. I can't listen to you anymore. Mm-hmm. And the coaches that are always yelling at the refs and then constantly telling you to not get on the refs, it's like, well, what the hell are you doing behind me? You've been yelling at this guy all game. Finally, I'm going to say something because you got us all riled up. Now you're going to give it to me about saying something to the refs? Like that. Those are the two ones that's like, you got to give it a rest.
Well, it's one of the great lines to Pat Quinn, because Pat was on the bench in the third period saying, I can't believe we're not getting that call. And one of the assistant coaches said, well, you've been calling the guy for 2.5 hours. So.
Yeah, he would yell at the refs all the time.
Yeah. He was one of my favorite.
Tell some great stories about that.
Pat Quinn was the, remember Don Van Massenhoven, the referee?
Mm-hmm.
So he hadn't done a Leaf game in like a calendar year. It comes out before the game. The refs are skating around, and Pat sees him and goes, "Oh God, you again!" He hasn't seen him in a year.
Right. Yeah. He just immediately thought he was getting screwed by the refs. I love that mentality.
I think Columbus is interesting because they are young. Right?
Like, yeah, they're trying to, now they got Don Waddell in there. Yeah. They went through the Babcock experience for whatever that was, a month and a half. And like last year was a write-off. Like when Babcock was eventually let go or he left.
Werenski got hurt.
Yeah. And like it's going to take them some time there.
But I think Fantilli is a really good player.
I think he's got the chance to be a really good player.
Yeah. Kent Johnson's interesting. He's probably a little further on the development path.
That Caden Lindstrom they drafted, really good player. Jiricek's a really good defenseman. Denton Matejchuk is really good.
What they
have a lot of good young players.
They need Cole Sillinger to come back to what he was 2 years ago. They probably played him too soon. He shouldn't have played as young as he did. But if he can solidify that lineup, and they got to figure out their goaltending.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they have Monahan now signed there long term. You got Johnny Gaudreau there who's making a lot of money.
And what happens with Laine? Right? Like if he
I don't know how you get I don't know who's taking him.
Well, okay, like he's gonna come back at some point. Like I know he's kind of gotten some help, which is great. Like you need to do that. Like Dean Evason doesn't exactly scream the type of game that Patrick Laine plays. Am I wrong there? Like Dean Evason he's intense. He wants guys to grind it down.
But he likes
not exactly Laine's
he likes guys that score goals.
Yeah, but Laine, I don't think he has a coach that's tailor-made to him. This is a Laine issue. It's not a coach issue anymore, right? Like it was always the story. Like Paul Maurice, is he too tough? No. Like when you've been in the league this long and you continue to underperform, it's on the player to prove that he can play for whoever happens to be the coach.
Yeah, and that is your job.
That's the point.
Yeah. Now,
exactly. It's on him to prove he can fit into whatever system.
Now, as the coach, there's an old saying, like, don't fight with your best players.
He's not your best player, though.
He's not anymore.
He's been hurt a lot, too. Like, there's
been a lot of injuries.
Right? Like, we got to make sure we put that out there. But
is Columbus a better team if Patrick Laine is scoring goals?
Of course.
Probably.
Whoever's scoring goals, you're better.
Yeah, that team
it doesn't have to be Laine. Someone's got to score.
No, but if he's doing it in a way that if he's not coming back, like if he's like you always hear that, and Ray Ferraro would grind his teeth about 200-foot players. Like, give me some 60-footers. I'll take some 60-footers.
Yeah, if you're elite at that.
Yeah, if that's what you do, and you can do it.
And there was a time when that's where he was trending, Laine, and he did that. He established his first couple of years in the league. He was one of the must-see players. His rookie year, he was unreal, man.
40 goals, right?
40 goals. Yeah. He was, and even his second, it was like, this guy is a stud. The way he plays, he was so fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I don't know what changed. I don't know what happened on the ice. Like, I know he's had issues off the ice. I know he's had injury problems. But the fact is, he's been in the league for a while, and on the ice, you watch him, and it just isn't enough in terms of what he gets paid, what the demands happen to be in terms of what he likes, what he doesn't like, what he wants, where he's, it's on him to prove that you can be an everyday guy in the league.
I'm rooting for him. Like, sure. I think he went into Winnipeg, he caught fire right away. And I don't know if you followed the Jets over the last few years. Like, there was clearly something happening there in that dressing room that, they needed to rid themselves of. Patrick Laine would have been caught in the middle of that. So now he's tried to have a fresh start in Columbus. He'll try to have another fresh start in Columbus with a new coach. And I hope it works out for him because the talent is there. And, when he's healthy, he actually has been somewhat productive. It's just like he gets hurt every year. And it seems to really, it drags him down.
It's weird when you think about that draft. That was the Matthews draft, right? So, I mean, Laine goes second. Pierre-Luc Dubois goes third. Jesse Puljujärvi goes fourth to Edmonton. Olli Juolevi goes fifth to Vancouver. And then Matthew Tkachuk goes sixth to Calgary.
Yeah.
Like, if you're redoing that draft now.
Yeah, it goes Matthews 1, Tkachuk 2.
And then you're probably looking at Charlie McAvoy, who was the 14th pick.
There's 3.
Tage Thompson was 26th.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably up there because you got Clayton Keller would be in there, but Alex Nylander has not had.
He went like 8th overall Buffalo, right?
Yeah, he went 8th to Buffalo. Mikhail Sergachev, Tyson Jost, Logan Brown. Like, it has not been a. I mean, remember who was better, right? That was that argument. Winnipeg fans chanted Lionel's better. That was incorrect.
How much
that was really, really off base.
Hold on a second. How much of that was built here at TSN? with the draft, like, oh, could be Matthews, could be Laine. Like, how much of that was just built?
Well, and there was speculation because of what Laine did at the World Juniors was unbelievable. It was
incredible.
Like, they won in Finland, and it was him and Aho and Puljujärvi.
He was draft eligible that year.
Right, and it was like, this guy is a rock star, man. I remember going into that World Junior, it was like, you got to see these two Finnish kids, like Puljujärvi and Laine. They're unbelievable. And he was so good that it became a question. Now, you look back on it now, you're like, how was it ever debatable? Like, clearly the Leafs were taking Matthews. Like, there was no way they weren't taking the number one center who everyone knew what he was going to become. I think he's exceeded expectations.
100%.
Like, Matthews has been even better. Like, 69 goals. No one saw like him being the defined best goal scorer in the world.
He's got 150 more goals than anyone else in his draft class.
Yeah,
put it this way, I don't think
what he's
people
done
in his draft year were saying this guy has a very legitimate chance to break Alex Ovechkin's goal record.
Right.
Whatever he does, Matthews can do it.
Well, because of the year he was born, because it was a post-September 15th or whatever, by a day, I think.
Yeah, he missed it by a
so he
day.
leaked over. The debate was always him or Eichel, right? Like, it was established McDavid was going number one. Let's say he was born 3 days earlier. It would be McDavid one, and then the debate would Buffalo have taken Eichel or would they have taken Matthews? Arizona had the third pick that year as well. They took Strome, and then Marner dropped to the Leafs at 4. But that was a legitimate debate. It's not a debate anymore. Like, no one's taking Jack Eichel over Austin Matthews.
No, I'd be very, very surprised.
I mean, and that doesn't mean Eichel's not a really good player who's won a cup. He's got that on Austin.
Yeah.
He's got that, and he'll be on the American team undoubtedly and play a primary role. So, but Austin's like, he's the face of the American program.
And he's the prototypical number one center that can do it all. He's strong defensively, put the puck in the back of the net. Like, I don't know.
He's huge.
He's massive. He came in as an 18-year-old. We're like, this guy's a man-child. Like, you don't see 18-year-olds built the way that guy was built. And we talk about him so much during the season, rightfully so. But and we'll see what he comes back with this year because just like every year, more expectations on the Leafs.
Yeah,
and they signed Connor Dewar today.
Connor Dewar, a 1-year deal at $1.18 million.
He's back. I think that number comes in a little less than what like the projection would have been from like the analytic companies. So instead of going arbitration, like they get that deal done. And now you look at the Leafs roster. One guy that kind of needs to be signed, Nick Robertson. Is there going to be an opportunity for him, or are you going to bring in a veteran guy? Like, I don't know.
They'll sign a PTO or two.
Yeah.
They do every year. Yeah. Like in the next month or so, you'll hear about PTOs.
Robertson deserves a chance.
I agree with you.
Goals per minute. Nick Robertson is a guy that was one of the Leafs' best last year.
He scores goals, generally speaking. Now, he does it in the playoffs. He hasn't played a ton in the playoffs.
Doesn't play a lot. Like that's
nobody does. The Leafs have a real issue scoring goals in the playoffs. But when they have inserted him in those moments, it's been a short leash. But he's a young guy. He's still trying to find his way. He's not going anywhere. They're not going to trade him because he's requested a deal.
They shouldn't. He should have the opportunity here. Like it's kind of baked in now. Yes, exactly.
New coach. I think he's.
You want
He should relish that opportunity. That it is a new coach.
Exactly. Yeah. And
he was healthy this year for the first time. I mean, he had a long stretch of games for the first time in his pro career.
Right.
This is the first time I think he played 40 games as a pro.
Do you think Dewar's an everyday guy?
Well, it's funny. He had 10 goals last year prior to the trade. So he comes over, and you're like, okay, could there be another? I don't know. Could there be a little more? Like, is there some offense in this guy? And like, never really saw it after. He's probably a fourth liner in and out. That's what he is.
That's the thing. I don't think he's
didn't get as much opportunity here as he had in Minnesota, right? I mean, remember too, that Minnesota team had $14 million tied up in dead cap money to Suter and Parise. So they were thin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So guys were playing and.
Yeah, we'll see. But you're right. It's Nick Robertson, and they'll sign a couple of vets to tryouts. Yeah. Like they'll see who's still, because there's still a number of guys unsigned in the league, and this happens every year. The league, you go on vacation for 3 or 4 weeks, you come back and say, all right, what do we have here? Oh, this guy's available. We'll give him a shout. A couple guys will sign. Probably one of them, maybe two of them will sign for $900,000, and they'll fill out the roster that way. All right, confirm or deny coming up. Confirm or deny. Gord, I think you've played this before.
Yes.
You've played it. You got to hear the whole intro and Fergie and everything.
Well,
and
I can either confirm or deny that.
Thank you. And you cannot be Fergie. You have to definitively confirm or deny based on your feeling on the statement. So we'll get to that. That's still upcoming. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
I can neither confirm or deny that this is in fact a segment.
Boston trades Andrew Raycroft to Toronto in exchange for the rights to Tuukka Rask.
It's been my honor and a privilege to serve as the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs Hockey Club.
It's time for Confirm or Deny.
Do you regret giving all those gentlemen the no trades or no movement clauses?
I can neither confirm or deny that.
I can't confirm or deny.
All right, Confirm or Deny brought to you by Summit Ford and South Lake Ford Lincoln, where there's no such thing as a no trade clause. Any make, any model, anytime. Visit summitford.com or southlakeford.com. All right, statements are made, and we either confirm them or we deny them. Very simple stuff, okay? Confirm and deny, at least 4 Maple Leafs will play at the Four Nations face-off. So we know Matthews and Nylander are already locked in. That's 2. At least 2 more are going to be playing there.
I will confirm that.
Okay.
So we know Matthews, we know Nylander, Marner's going to be on the team. And then...
You think Riley's going to make the team?
I think Riley's got a very legitimate chance. I think Kalle Järnkrok would have a chance with Sweden.
Okay.
And who else would I be thinking of? I don't know. Matthew Nyes probably would be on the outside looking in for the United States.
He's not going to make that team. Yeah. I don't think Ekman Larsson's going to make Sweden anymore.
So the Swedish defense is
loaded.
I'll confirm it.
You're going to confirm it?
I'm going to confirm it.
Yeah, I think Marner's going to be on that Canadian
team. Marner and Järnkrok would be my 2 guys.
Järnkrok's an interesting one. He's got to stay healthy and play. If he does, I could see him as a guy, 4th-line penalty killer on Sweden.
Yeah.
Speed, pace. Morgan Riley, I think he's on a bubble. I'm not sure he's going to make the team.
I don't think he makes it, but I think Järnkrok probably does, so I'll confirm that.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I don't know. Järnkrok's a funny one to me. Like I don't.
Swedes love him. The Swedes love him.
Right, and generally they have their guys. Like it's the same thing with Finland. It's they try to build a team. And they don't have as many superstars as Canada and the U.S. do. So you're not dealing with the same amount of talent pool. He's a very well liked guy, good player. I'm gonna deny it though because I feel like he's got I don't know where he plays in this lineup. That may not matter in terms of the way Sweden's building their team out. But if he's a 3rd liner, not putting up big numbers, offensively he didn't really do a lot last year. He had injury problems. Riley's the interesting one because I think Morgan's been cheated. Like we talked to Ryan O'Reilly last hour. O'Reilly's been cheated over the last decade with no international play.
Yeah. Yep.
Like if there was an international tournament in 2020, he would have been on that Canadian team.
Yeah.
Like 100% or 22 or 18 or whatever. He would have been there. Riley, because the Canadian defense is, I think, being undervalued a little bit because it's being compared to the American defense, which is loaded. Like after Makar, you could run through probably 4 Americans before you get to a Canadian if you're having a draft.
Yeah, but also it's pretty wide open for Canada.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like if you want to compare 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, it might be a little bit different, but I mean, once you put Canada's 6 or 7 defensemen together, you're going to look at it and be like, those are some pretty damn good players.
That's right. That's pretty good. And I wonder, what kind of team they're going to build as well. Like it may be a different type of team Canada where it's not about like size and physicality, and like could it be more about pace and offense from the defense because they do have a lot of offensively inclined defensemen on the Canadian team.
100%. And okay, so think about this: if you're having Makar and if you have Shea Theodore and you have Josh Morrissey, you have Morgan Riley. Like,
exactly. That's the question.
And don't forget Devon Taves.
Right. And Taves puts up points too.
And he would play with Makar. It would be a natural fit.
What if Noah Dobson's on the team? Dobson was top 10 points
Alex
for defense last
What
night.
about Evan Bouchard?
Yeah. Doughty had a good year last year.
Pietrangelo. Like they're going to want a veteran guy.
I think they always do.
They're going to want. So that could be Pietrangelo or Doughty.
Yeah.
But they're going to want one of those 2 guys.
I agree with you.
I think you're right, and I think Drew Doughty's year last year was not talked about enough. Yeah. He was outstanding. I think he led the NHL in ice time last year.
He did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. He had a really good year.
Yeah. Still got it.
He still does. But yeah, I'm not sure Mo's going to get in there, and then Järnkrok. Järnkrok's an interesting one. But I'll deny it. Like we know Matthews is going, we know Willie's going, and Marner's going.
The Swedes also love Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
As a veteran guy to be an 8th, to be a spare.
That could be the case.
Like he can play on the power play. He can kill. Like he could be a guy you could use as a utility guy if someone got hurt.
That's their equivalent of Pietrangelo or whatever, like the veteran guy who's been around for a while. He could be a 4th pairing guy that maybe steps in for a game or 2. Confirm or deny, Tiger Woods will compete in at least 5 events next season. They'll get through 5. So the 4 majors, you presume, and then one more real event. Not the Hero, not the PNC with Charlie.
So he's going to compete in them.
Basically, the 4 majors, and then he'll play the players, or he'll play, Riviera. Riviera's his event, the Genesis.
That's a confirm. That's all day. That's a confirm. He's going to be at the big tournaments just because he's Tiger. Is he going to be competitive there? Is he going to make cuts? Like, that remains to be seen. Like, I'm getting less and less optimistic about it, which is sad because I miss watching Tiger play in his prime. But I think 5 tournaments, for Tiger to show up, kind of do his press, his media availability, give us a good quote, kind of do the State of the Union thing that everyone wants to get Tiger's opinion on. And then the golf is obviously attached to that. I will confirm that.
Okay.
I will too. The PGA Tour gave him a lifetime exemption starting next year. So he has a lifetime exemption to their marquee events. So, and then don't forget the majors.
You want to play in those?
Well, but don't forget the majors aren't PGA Tour events.
Right.
None of the 4 majors is a PGA Tour event. So all he has to do is play the 4 majors and in one, like play Riviera.
Which he will, because it's his tournament. If he's healthy, though, I think we're bearing the lead here. We're presuming health. I don't think you can presume that.
And he was. Now the Open Championship, lots of guys blew up at Troon. It happens, but
he was not competitive at any major tournament this year. He made the cut at Augusta, which was awesome. That's the only time he made the cut. Everywhere else it was like a disaster, more or less. And the weekend at Augusta was particularly tough to watch.
Yeah, really hard to watch.
Really hard to watch. Yet, he's claiming, he's feeling better, healthier. He's losing some weight. The PGA Tour is dying for him to play. I'll confirm it because, I think he shows up at the Genesis. He'll show up at Riviera. He'll play the 4 majors, I believe. I'm not convinced he's going to show up and play at the Players or play at, the Memorial, play at Jack's tournament. Why is he, I don't think he's doing that anymore.
He's not going to put himself in position either on a golf course that's going to embarrass him.
Well, that's another thing. If you play the Memorial, it will be embarrassing how tough that place plays. That's why I'd love to see him play. Go to Kapalua and shoot 22 under. Right, like go to Hawaii and play with 35 guys and just go and have a great time.
Fire up the John Deere.
Yeah, play at the John Deere.
Maybe the 3M.
The 3M I think that's his kind of course, man. Yeah. He loves Minnesota this time of year.
He would never want to do that.
He loves Minnesota.
There's no way he's showing. And no offense to those tournaments, but he's just not showing up.
No, he's probably not. He hasn't shown up to those type of tournaments in 20 years.
He should do one more Canadian Open when it's all said and done.
That I agree.
At the Abbey.
Bring it back to the Abbey and bring back Tiger.
Yeah.
That I totally agree. Give him a cart. Let him do whatever he wants.
Yeah. One more spin around the track up in Canada.
Give him one more. All right. Confirm and deny. LeBron James is still the most important player in the NBA in terms of marketing, in terms of everything that the NBA represents. You see what he's doing for the American team? Now, these are tune-up games.
Yeah.
But they barely beat Germany.
Yeah.
They're barely beating South Sudan because LeBron's basically throwing the team on his back and leading them to victory. It's incredible to watch. The guy's going to be 40 in a couple of months.
So
is he still the most important player
on the court or off the court?
I guess the whole encapsulation, the whole thing.
I guess I probably
for the next year, for the next calendar year, if you're running the NBA and you're like, we have one guy that we need. Yeah. Is LeBron still that guy?
I will still confirm this, and my reasoning is because every time I turn on ESPN.com or NBA Today, or they're talking First Take, it's like LeBron and the Lakers, and they could be in 12th place, they could be in 8th place. It's like, Luka's doing well. There's just Giannis is doing great, but the talk, it always leads off with LeBron. Mm-hmm. So for the time being, I will say, yes, he's still the most important. Is he the best? No. Is he the most impactful? Still probably not, although it's still closer.
Very good player,
very good player, but because you say important, sure, I'll confirm it.
Yeah, I agree with it. I think he is. You can argue all you want whether or not he's the best NBA player of all time, but I think he's one of the most important just because of all he's done. Jordan obviously with Air Jordan, everything he did with Nike, but there's a dimension to LeBron that transcends basketball. So yes.
Well, and I would confirm it also because look at the coverage his son is getting because he's related to LeBron. Like now that's a whole new chapter. You talk about content creation and drawing people into your product.
That's what having children is now, content creation?
Yes, it's exactly what it is. It's content creation.
So, Frankie, you got twins.
There you go. You're ahead of the game.
We're not doing the influencer
You've created lots of content,
page.
Frankie.
Bronny's an influencer.
Yeah.
And Bronny's being talked about. Like you just saw Summer League in Vegas. They were like ESPN and NBA TV and everything. They're treating it like it's the biggest thing on earth.
I hate to see that.
I hear you, but it's because of the significance of LeBron.
I get it. So I confirmed.
Yeah.
I didn't say I confirmed.
And because of the team he still plays on. I think that's an important element to this. The Lakers they're still the number one brand. We just heard Paul George do an interview today.
Dude.
And he admits, he's like, playing for the Clippers, you're on the B team. Like, no one cares about you.
Hold on a second. I saw that today. Is he new here? Like, what'd you think was going to happen?
I know,
like,
exactly.
Did you
You're
not
from
know?
LA,
Yeah,
dude.
did you not know, like, the Lakers get all the attention and no one really follows the Clippers?
That's
like,
what's scary.
Come on,
He's
man.
from LA. That was the whole talking point. Two LA boys going back to lift up the Clippers, Kawhi and Paul George. Like, if you're from Chicago and you're like, I don't know what LA's like. Okay, I can understand that ignorance. You're from LA.
No, I can't.
You know the Lakers. You were a Laker fan probably growing up.
I can't even understand that ignorance. You know why? Because you've rolled through the league.
Yes.
You've been in the
You're
building.
in the NBA.
You've been there for a Lakers game. You've been there for a Clippers game. You know exactly what the difference is between those two.
Jack Nicholson bought season tickets to the Clippers, courtsides, to have tickets for the 4 games they played the Lakers. He gave the rest away.
That's great. Remember how disheveled he would look by the end
great.
when he'd go to those games?
Yeah.
Like
There's so many great
He'd just
memes
show up
with
and like,
that.
look at this cat at a Lakers game, man.
He had eyes like a poisoned bass.
What a life. What a life he's led. All right, let me skip the Jordan Love one because I'll be accused of being somewhat biased on that. Let me finish with this one. Confirm or deny, if Aaron Rodgers plays every game this season, the Jets are a lock to make the playoffs.
Oh, that's a confirm. That's a confirm.
You're confirming that.
I will confirm
the
that
New
so
York
quickly.
Jets are a lock to make the playoffs.
Yes, I will confirm that so quickly. They didn't have a quarterback last year. And listen, I'm not going to say that like they were in the fight because they were a bit of a disaster. It was a circus.
Yeah,
but everything around the quarterback actually wasn't that bad for the Jets. Now, if you give Aaron Rodgers, like if he plays average at best or just above average, they are going to be a lock for the playoffs. And the Bills aren't as good as they were. Like, they might take a step back. I think there's a very legitimate avenue for the Jets to be a playoff team, especially if Rodgers is playing. Well, hold on a second. Not especially. Rodgers, he has to play because if he doesn't play, no one is bringing that team to the playoffs in that team.
I'm going to deny because you didn't want to do Jordan Love question because you'd be biased. I'm biased the other way. There aren't many athletes I cheer against. Aaron Rodgers, I cheer.
I thought you were going to say because you're a Giants fan.
No,
Gord.
I am a Giants fan, but
So you're rude. So your denial is based on how you feel about Rodgers, not about
he's a great
playing.
quarterback. He's a great quarterback.
Yeah,
but the other stuff, I just can't.
So you don't tune,
Not your
tune
guy.
into
Like
Pat
9/11 was an inside job. Denying Sandy Hook, like
has he done that?
Yeah, he had to walk it back. Like he's like.
Oh, I didn't know that he had gone
HIV
to that
was a
extent.
government plant. Like just all the conspiracy theories, the lunacy, the lying. I just can't.
Can't do it.
Can't do it. So can't do it.
Can't take
do it.
this question based on whether or not
Deny.
the Jets will win.
Deny.
Because of how you feel about Rodgers.
I'm fully admitting my bias here, but
Okay.
he's a great quarterback. He's one of the best quarterbacks of his generation.
Yes, he is of all time.
But not
All time.
not a person I can cheer for.
Okay. I'm denying it because it's the Jets. That has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers or
You believe in
conspiracy
well,
theories.
you're biased a little bit too. Be honest.
Well, listen, I was ready for him to move on from Green Bay. He was, by the end, it was annoying. It was petulance. It was more just, it was diva-related stuff. And they had to move on. They made the right call because Jordan Love was ready. Like it was a lot like Favre. It was like, you got to go because Rodgers was ready. Now, Rodgers, you got to go because Love is ready. The Packers have they've mastered, the baking of a quarterback.
Is he 40?
The preparing of a quarterback. Yeah, he's 40. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, even if he's healthy, I don't know what he's going to look like. By the second half of his final season in Green Bay, his stats really plummeted. They didn't make the playoffs. He wasn't great. Now he's missed a full year. He's coming off the Achilles. But it's the Jets. Like, I don't trust their coach. I don't trust their coordinator. I don't trust their line.
Dress them up in a different history. Do the picture the Jets in a different uniform.
Then it would be a different story.
Then they make the playoffs.
Green just doesn't do it for you.
No, you put Patrick Mahomes in New York. I'm like, that's not a lock. They make the playoffs.
It just looks weird.
I can never say it's a lock for the Jets to make the playoffs. I can't do it. All right, confirm or deny. Brought to you by Summit Ford and South Lake Ford Lincoln, where there's no such thing as a no-trade clause. Any make, any model, anytime. Visit summitford.com or southlakeford.com. We'll come back and wrap up a busy afternoon. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, so we might have a Bill Belichick.
We got a problem.
Canadian here.
We got a problem.
We got a Belichick on our hands here. So Doogie just sent this into the group chat here, a statement from the COC that a member of Canada Soccer who is not accredited to the Paris 24 Olympics was detained by French authorities because the staff member is believed to have been using a drone to record the New Zealand women's football team during practice. Oof. So this is like Harbaugh at Michigan or Belichick at Spygate. This is Belichick. We have a Belichick on our hands.
We're supposed to be polite.
I know, we're not, man.
And the COC has said that they take this very seriously. They've apologized to the New Zealand Olympic Committee and to New Zealand football, and they're reviewing their options. This is bad. This is bad. I mean, look. I mean, this.
How is it? But how are they not accredited?
Well, probably because.
Yet they have access to the New Zealand practice.
Because the New Zealand team's not practicing in the venues. Their practice field is probably off at a park, like off somewhere in a small stadium.
Right.
And using a drone.
Yeah, who's making the call on the drone here? Like, is this a rogue drone attack where this is? It's like, I'm going to really get some points here.
A, don't do it there because the French are on the lookout for drones, so that's kind of dumb. But B, the staff member's taking the fall.
That's the way it always goes.
This is the equipment guy in New England. Right?
Yeah, it'll be your fault that the footballs are deflated.
I did it myself. I thought I'd record the practice on my own.
We can't beat New Zealand without drones. Come on.
Yeah, right?
Like, what the hell's going on here? We're going in. We need drones to get over the top to beat New Zealand.
We're a growing soccer nation.
I'm skeptical of this. I'm skeptical.
You don't think he did it?
I have no idea what happened. But in the games, like, what is going on? Like,
New Zealand filed a complaint.
Yes.
So something happened.
Right. We have a Belichick situation. Okay, we don't have time to figure this out now, but by tomorrow we'll get to the bottom of this. We're supposed to have possibly Bev Priestman on. Something tells me Bev may not be on. I have a funny feeling we may not get to that tomorrow.
Deny. That's a deny.
That may be. That's not a confirmed. That's not a Fergie moment. But we'll see. Yeah, this could take on legs, though. You're right. This could turn into a really big story. All right. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out today. Everyone for tuning in. TV, radio, podcast, web. We appreciate it. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.